Easy Sports Talk Show. Javon Adams, Ed Smith. We do this thing 3 times a week: Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Make sure you tell a friend what we have going on here. Rate, subscribe, share. It all helps, and we do appreciate it. How you doing, my brother?
Hey, doing good. Happy Friday to you, man. Made
Happy
through another
Friday.
one.
Happy Friday. Happy Friday. It's a happy Friday for a lot of young men that just changed their tax bracket. So
Yes,
we got
sir.
we got a great show that we're going to get into today. Talk a little bit about the NBA draft, about where Chris Paul is going, and I want your thoughts on Chris Paul with the Suns, what his mark is, and try to figure out what the Warriors are doing. And then because of what is speculated as one of the reasons why the Warriors traded Jordan Poole, I want to get your thoughts about something in the locker room / clubhouse. So let's get with the NBA draft. I know we were out and about yesterday. We were doing a little bit of networking as per se, so we didn't get to watch the draft live. But I don't from looking at it, there were really no surprises in terms of the top three. Maybe 2 and 3 could have been changed or moved around, but Wembanyama goes first. You got what, and so the number 2 and 3 slots weren't that much. It wasn't a lot of drama, except for I want to say Whitmore from Villanova that dropped from 8, speculated to go 8 or in the top 10, and then went dropped all the way down to 20 to go to Houston. But anyway, when you're looking at the draft, did anything jump out to you besides the fact that multiple dudes was walking up to shake the commissioner's hands with just a suit and no shirt on? Did you see that stuff, man?
I didn't see that. Yeah, I didn't see that part of it. The thing that strikes me about the draft today, Jay, and I don't know if I'm taking this offline, off course, is I don't know any of these dudes.
That's true.
Remember back in the
I'm gonna
day
give you. I'm
when
gonna give you a stat. I was listening this morning on the way back home. 5 of the top 7 draft picks did not play college basketball. So you
yeah,
had some that were in the G League or that
yeah,
league,
or
and then also playing
overseas.
overseas. And so think about that. If you don't know them and you're not trying to go and find where these players that were in the again, I forget the league that they have for those. But the point is, you would have to go and find those streams and things to be able to keep your eye on, like the Thompson twins, etc. But yeah, keep going though.
Well, you go back to, and I hate to, we sound like them old dudes, but years and years ago, when by the time a player got to the draft, we'd watch them for 2 or 3 years in college. You
Yeah.
got to know their game a little bit. You see their fit. And then when they got to the league, it was like a finished product. Now, with this draft, I'm looking at it as like you said, it's international, G League all the way through it. And then even the dudes like from, at the 6, Anthony Black from Arkansas. Unless you're an Arkansas fan or caught him in the tournament, it's
Yeah.
like, who's this guy? I really, we're at a new age now, and I'm pretty sure the league, the way it's set up, they would like for these players to come in with a little more, seasoning, a little more,
A little more
ability.
interest, a little
Yeah, a little more
more. Yeah.
interest.
Yeah.
We're just looking at names as like, oh, okay. And I guess we'll see them in the league, in these G leagues, or not G leagues, but the summer league and stuff like that. Maybe we can start getting a little more familiar with them. But that's the thing for me. I mean, as far as the draft itself, right now I would say the top 3 or 4 players, those are the guys. Then after that, it's like, and it's crazy for me. Here's another thing: the you mentioned that we don't see a lot of guys from college in the top, 10, 15. I'll take it even another. It's like, where are the traditional schools? We got a couple. We got Alabama, which I wouldn't call it the traditional powerhouse, but
Right. Right.
Brandon Miller at 2, and then you got Houston,
I
Arkansas,
think
Michigan.
Michigan
Yeah,
State had a couple players that went higher than
yeah.
expected.
But Jet Howard, so Juwan Howard's son at 11. You got Carson Wallace at Kentucky from Kentucky at 10. But normally, you'd be, North Carolina, Duke. You just
You
run down the
you you
list.
just want to see North
Kansas.
Carolina fool. That's all
Well,
you want
hey,
to see.
bro, our North Carolina has fallen off. Our dude's
Yeah.
not even getting going into the draft. our players are staying 3 and 4 years. When guys are staying 3 and 4 years, that's, you would think that's a good thing, right? That's like, oh no, you got guys going back to school. It's like, wait a minute, what's wrong with you? Now think
Yeah,
about
man.
this too. That Josh Edie, I think his name is the big dude from Purdue. He
Hmm.
didn't even come out. He went back to school, and then Dickerson from Michigan, their star, he transferred from Michigan to Kansas. So so you're getting if you're in college now, 3 and 2 and I was even say 2 and 3 and 4 years. That's the new wow.
Yeah,
What's wrong with that guy? Whereas
yeah.
it's like it's flipped upside down. We're in bizarro world as far as for anybody who watches the superheroes. We're in bizarro world for the
Yeah.
NBA right now because it is flipped upside down in terms of the philosophy. If you're not coming out of after your freshman year, something must be wrong with you. And if you're coming from a traditional school, something must be wrong with you too, because it's just everything is just flip flopped. And I don't know. I don't know what they can do to change it, Jay, where we get back to more norm, where maybe these kids are staying 2 and 3 years, and becoming a little. Because I'll be honest with you, the help for the league
Hmm.
now, and here's another philosophy. Now teams are no longer even worrying about having a first round draft pick because unless you're in the top five, I would say, you're not getting a player that's even going to help you anyway. So
Good
what's the
point.
point of keeping those picks? So now we're seeing these teams package these picks and getting rid of them. And it's like, wow, they don't like, for instance, the Bucks, I think they had the very last pick of the draft, and that's it. They didn't have a first round, and then they're only pick, and it's like, it's no big deal. We'll do everything in free agency, or we'll make these deals to bring players in because the draft, like now, and I'll shut up after this. It's the exact opposite with the NFL draft. You
Yeah.
build your team through the draft, and there's more rounds, obviously 7 rounds, but you can find players, and like Brock Purdy was the last player in the draft in the 7th round, and he comes to help a team. You got guys who are free agents. You got the NFL draft. That's how you build your team. In
Yeah.
the NBA draft, it's like, well, if we're not in the top of the lottery, we can just, we'll flip these picks and see if we can use them. You got the Suns, and we'll talk about that. Or no, who was it? Somebody, it might be the trading picks into 2029.
Yeah.
I mean,
The
they're
Suns don't control their next pick because you have some of those, it's conditional draft picks and stuff, but they don't control the next pick that I came across was until 2031.
yeah. What's the point of having a draft of teams not now maybe they'll work their way back
Way
into
back
getting a
in.
pick
Right.
or two with
Right.
player picks and stuff like that. But that is unbelievable, Jay. We're in 2023. You're talking about 7, 8 years. They don't even control the pick, and they're not even worried about it. They're like, well, what we got left? Hey, let's
Yeah.
get rid of what can we do with this pick in 2037?
Yeah.
Let's get rid of that for XYZ. It's amazing how the NBA draft has pretty much just become a sham of itself. You don't even care about it because, like I said, after their first couple picks, it's like I don't know these dudes anyway. Whereas you and
Hmm.
I, this past some spring for the NFL draft, I mean, we're locked in. We're like, first round pick. Who's going to trade to get here? We're watching those first 2 and 3, all the way through the second, third round. We're watching intently to see who's moving up to do what and what players are being picked. But with this NBA draft, it's just like I said, I don't even know why they have it for the most part. They should just put some names in a ping pong thing and just pull it out and say, you go here, you go there, because it doesn't really make much sense.
Now, one of the things that I am in favor of that kind of that free market, right? So if you think that you can go out and ball and make your money, then go out and make your money. I don't think that it should be restricted in that way. It doesn't guarantee you anything, but at least give you the opportunity to put your name in the hat, so to speak. If you think that you're going to be drafted and you feel that based upon the information that you get that you'll be that maybe you'll be in a good put yourself in a good position, right? But I think if I'm looking at it from the standpoint of maybe a fan's perspective, or more specifically, maybe from the NBA who looks at the college football and college basketball as the feeder to what they do for the most part, even though you have some of the overseas playing and such. The way that baseball does it, is I want your thoughts on this. What do you think about this? So baseball, either you can come out right away right? Or you got to stay until you're a junior in college. So it's yeah, go ahead and put your hat into the draft if you think you can do it, and you go into the minor leagues and you do your thing, or you got to wait until your junior year. I wouldn't say wait until the junior year for basketball, but maybe wait. You got to play at least 2 seasons and then go from there. So at least that way you're not worried as a coach, or as a player, you're really focused on improving yourself and maybe even forgive me, getting an education and trying to get it to work towards a
Yeah.
degree. But at least that way there's a little more consistency built in. That might be something. I don't think that they'll do it anytime soon, but that would be what I would lean towards.
I'm all in on that. I totally agree with you. I wouldn't restrict them to their junior year. I think the thing with football, especially, is those kids aren't ready
Oh
for that
yeah,
life,
yeah.
out of high school. So yes, you got to let them get bigger and stronger, coming out after their third year in college for football. Baseball, yeah, baseball would be the one sport that you might be able to get in early. You got these kids from the Dominican in certain places where they don't go to college and they get drafted. They go into these academies and stuff like that. They're getting drafted. It's some of them, you know, back in the day, these birth certificates and stuff, they weren't even 18 years old. So
I can
baseball's
tell you
different.
this because one of the things that I do on the side with with my business, one of the businesses that I'm around, I see a lot of these young players, and I'm when I'm
Doing your
on
pressure washing in there,
yeah,
yeah,
when I'm on the property, I don't know who the hell these dudes are. But the point is that there's so many in this feeder system, and then it goes up, and you know how it
yeah,
goes. But in basketball, it's different because there's only 12 spots on a roster, 12 to 15. So I get it, but for when it comes to drumming up interest, so from the fans' perspective, and then that helps the league, and then I think from the development, because I think what happens sometimes is that oh man, you should go out. You should go out. Some agent thinks that they want to try to get a couple dollars, so they get in the ear of a player or the family. There's family issues, and I don't begrudge anybody for coming out, especially if it's for you're trying to put your family in a better position. But dang, man, think about if you're making two or $300,000 a year. Let's just say a 500,000, whatever it is, and that $500,000 is supposed to support your entire family. I mean, come on, that's a little bit far fetched in that way, but that's the way that some of these families think because you're going to end up being a second round draft pick and maybe you have to cling on and play overseas, or you're going to be drafted late in the first round and really try to hold on, and then you got your agent taking your fees and you got all this stuff, you got taxes, all these things, and you get, and next thing you know, you making money like you was and I'm not besmirching this, but like you're a construction worker making much less because you paying all this stuff out, and I think that that's lost in the sauce.
yeah. And I honestly, there are only so many players, Jay, that are ready that early. The reason we're getting them now is because they're only being forced to go that 1 year in college or the G League. So they're they're like looked at as like, well, the next phenom. But really, they're not even ready. They're playing at a college level, and they're not seasoned yet. That you got to remember this. Going back a bunch of years when players were able to come out of college, you had your Garnetts, you had your Kobe
Mm-hmm.
Bryant, late great Kobe Bryant, who
Yeah.
wasn't. They were like looking at him like there's talent there, but they weren't even sure about
It even
Kobe
took a
Bryant.
couple years for Kobe to really get his
Yeah,
whole yeah.
people think they forget because of what he turned into. They think he was a star right out the gate. No, Kobe was. I mean, he was on the bench, coming off the bench,
Yeah.
playing minimal minutes, and there was questions about him, his game, his mental. He wasn't quite ready for it. He he
Yeah.
he 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 overcame it quickly, but he wasn't ready right out the box. And
Yeah.
that's Kobe Bryant, one of the greats. So these kids, you run down the list of this draft, you're like they're thrown right into this league playing against grown men. You talk about the money. They're supporting their families, all this stuff thrown into their lap. They're not ready yet, but
Yeah, man.
it's because of the system. It's hey, you think about this, Jay. Players like Tim Duncan, Shaquille O'Neal. Run
Mm-hmm.
down the list. These dudes were in college for 3 and 4 years. Tim Duncan went 4 years at Wake
4
Forest, I think it was.
years.
4
Yeah.
years. And
Yeah.
and I will say this much. The one who has done it best, well, two of them. I think Kevin Garnett was a quick, but LeBron James, he lived up to all the hype. He was the
This is true.
one. He's the one who, anointed King James, came right out. You can see it right out the box. It's like, this dude is going to be great. He's still not the best ever, but he's great. But he's the outlier. And I
Yeah.
wish they would revert the system to where it's almost like this. Okay, let me give you one. You order this great meal. Now, instead of going to restaurants, I like to eat by going out and getting my food now. I don't
Yes.
like just going to restaurants and having to sit and order and all that stuff. So I'll go to a lot of these restaurants and the food is just as good, but a lot of times you'll go get the food, right?
Yeah.
And it's not cooked quite to your liking, meaning it's like they were rushing it and you get it and your chicken's still soft. It's not. So what do I
Yeah.
have to do? I got to put it in the oven and heat it up more, Jay. And that's what you're
Yeah.
doing with these players. It's like you're getting him. It's like he's a good talent, but he's not going to be ready to we got to hey, somebody turn the oven on 350 and you got to give me another, somebody get the aluminum foil. You got to spray it, so it don't stick to aluminum foil. You got to put it in there and about, 20 minutes or so. Like, that's it right there. You got it to that crispiness. It's nice and good. But these players, I'm telling you, man, they're not quite cooked right. And I'm tired of going to this restaurant and getting this food and having to put it in the damn microwave or put it in the doggone oven. I'm serious.
That's the final word on that one. I can't even say no more about that. That's a clip that's going out. Easy Sports Talk Show. Ed Smith, Javon Adams. So Chris Paul was traded to the Warriors for Jordan Poole and some draft picks and whatnot. I'm curious your thoughts, because this to me signifies a couple things. One, they really wanted that dude out of there. They really wanted Jordan Poole out of there. Two, I'm thinking, and I'm not alone in this, but that Draymond's probably coming back.
Yeah.
And three, they just can't seem to get young. Damn, man. I mean, Chris Paul takes the median age of your team way up.
Yeah.
But I'm just your thoughts on this, because I want to get into the dynamic of what's been speculated about Jordan Poole in a moment. But just your thoughts, just on the surface, because Chris Paul doesn't seem to fit what Golden State does. You know how they do. I mean, Chris Paul's great. He loves to have. He loves to have. They go up and down, and Chris Paul likes to be methodical with his approach. And now they move that ball. They move in that motion, and that ball finds energy. What did you think about that?
I'm scratching my head over this one. Maybe they use him as a chip to ship out and get something else in there. But if they don't, this is one of the strangest moves in all of history to me, because Chris Paul is the exact opposite of your mentality and what you do with the Warriors. Like you said, they're up and down. Steph has the ball in his hand. You want Steph with the ball because he's a facilitator and also one of the best shooters, or he's the greatest shooter in the world in the history of the game, actually. So you see their motion. These dudes are, it's like, bruh, it looks like an aerobics class. I remember the first time when I took aerobics, when I was playing ball, me and my buddy, one of my best friends in the world, Nate, we were in Atlanta, and we were like, well, we're getting our work in. It was like, let's do something extra. And we used to go to the gym all the time. We met the aerobics teacher, and she's like, hey, you dudes need to come into my class. And, we were like, we're professional athletes. We went into that aerobics class, bruh. And we were sitting there, and we're just like, so, and that's when you watch a Warriors game. It's like these dudes, like, I get tired just watching them. Man, that's motion right there. Chris Paul does the exact guy. He's going to take your game, and because of what he does, he's going to, at least if he's going to play his role, he's going to slow it down. So I don't understand that move, bringing him in. And like you said, he's injury, he's old, he's injury prone. How many games can you really count on him in this NBA season? And does he fit? I don't know. It doesn't look like, it doesn't look like a great move to me. And like I said, you'll get to the next part of it, to get Poole out of there. They must have been thinking, we'll do anything to get his ball. Whatever we can do to get him out of here, we're going to get him out of here. Because they signed him to that big contract.
Yes.
So by getting rid of him, Chris Paul might even be we're thinking about how much they got to pay Chris Paul. And it's like, well, wait a minute, what do you got to pay Poole? So they might have made out by getting rid of him and we'll see what happens next. But yeah, that's not to me. That's a weird move in terms of bringing Chris Paul in.
I can't wait if he does end up staying with the team. The first time that we see one in the regular season where they come down, Chris Paul is, let's say he's playing with Curry, he comes down, Curry just does one of his shots where he's from the 3/4 court, boom, and Chris Paul just looks at him, man, I didn't even get past the half court line and you taking a shot, dog. What you doing? Come on, man.
I thought you were good because you know Chris comes down methodically and he's like waving everybody around and
Yeah.
try. But with the Warriors, they're gonna be looking at him look like he's gonna be like you go down the road and you get to a spot and you're like they have the dude standing out there with the stop sign in the middle of the road and they turn it around and it says go. They say and you're like, wait a minute, we ain't got no stop signs out here, Chris. You gonna be saying.
That's true.
You need to turn that thing around.
Yeah, we all gas, no brakes, all gas, no brakes. And then also, so again, Easy Sports Talk Show. With one of the things that Kerr said at the end of the season was that it was the fight during preseason that ended up really carrying over into the season, and then just there was a cloud over the team, for lack of a better word, and that was Draymond Green, of course, hitting Jordan Poole. There sometimes, again, there's speculation, so I'm just throwing it out there. So some of the things that's been out there, maybe when he got the money that he changed a little bit, got his money changed up, that he was a challenging teammate in the locker room, and so maybe he wasn't really loved, and so that was one, maybe something that led to this ultimately happening. But without getting into that, so let's say did you have any in the clubhouse or in the locker room, any cancerous teammates? Either they got the money and it changed them, or they were just a challenge or a headache right from the beginning. Can you share any stories? And I don't want you to name names, but just in terms of those that happened to you.
Jay, you know how many teammates I played with over a course of 15 years and 2 professional sports. And I could name names. I could run. There were so many times when and here's the crazy part. You go through either it's different. Like with baseball, we go through spring training, and you go from team to team, meaning, at first you start, you think you're going to be in AAA, but you end up on the AA team. But you go through these levels, you finally end up where you're going to end up. And then you look at the roster of dudes when they make the final cuts, and you're like, everybody's excited, and you're looking around, it's like, oh man, it's going to be the bomb team. And then you get to that one dude, and you're like, oh, snap. And you just know it's going to be, and here we are in March. And we got to make it.
Can one person really sabotage a team like that, man?
Can make it. And, think about this. The March to 162 was 142 in minor league. So we crammed 142 games into 150 days. So you know how many days we are together. And think about this. If you work in an office, you can go hide in your cubicle, right? If you have to. You can go hide in your office if you have to, because there's somebody you just don't like, or you don't like, they dominate the room. They always got their opinion, whatever it is, it's just a bad mix. You can go hide, right?
Right.
There's no hiding when it comes to professional sports. Your teammates, you're on these buses, you're on these planes, you're in these locker rooms, you're on the field together. Same thing goes with football. You might have a dude I played with dudes that I could not stand for whatever reason. Now, whether they were a cancer or not, we had a few of those. Sometimes it was just personalities. I didn't like him, he didn't like me. You know the famous story about me. There's a dude that if I saw him laying on the side of the road right now, I'd pull up and I'd be like, oh, that's some gun. I'd be like, I might call and tell, hey, there's a dude laying on the side of the road somewhere. I need to go find him. He's at mile marker 292. But I'm not getting out of my car for that dude. Nuh-uh. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the cancers, there are guys who, whether it be now, there are guys who think they should be playing more. They should be making the money that dude's making, and why am I? And it's like it is. You use the word right where cancer. What is cancer? Cancer is something that grows within and destroys, and that's exactly what some dudes do just by their attitude. And that's it comes down to the coach or management, or veteran players, or just players in general on the team to correct that.
Like a two-piece to the jaw.
bruh, that's somehow how it gets.
Mm.
Whenever you hear, hey, it's time for a players only meeting, oh snap. Because that's when stuff usually gets addressed. And then
Yeah.
that dude or dudes, they want to stand up and voice their opinion as to why, and it can get contentious. And I've seen furniture moved in meetings. I'm usually that dude that's separating or sitting in the back, like just like head down, because I'm just here to do my job, man. You
Right.
know, but I've seen, like I said, I've seen fisticuffs. I've seen dudes trying to get over furniture to get to each other, and it
Ooh.
can really, like I said, it can derail a season. And depending on when it happens, bro, it's like sometimes there's no recovery from it. This thing that happened with Draymond, if and Poole, if it had happened halfway through the season, three-quarters way through the season, you can see the end of the line. It's like, okay, look, let's pull this together, and we only got a short way to go to get to our mission. When that happens at the beginning, it's like in training camp, and you
Yeah.
still got that 82 to get through, and it's festering because
Mm.
you got to remember it's two dudes around each other that probably don't like each other. You travel together. You it never fails, bro. You get to the hotel, you get, and I don't care how nice your hotel is, and these guys are staying in nice ones, but every one of them has the same type of elevators you got to get to or stairs you got to get to get down, right? Never
Yeah.
fails. You coming out your room, click, your door closed. Who's standing at the elevator right when you come out? That dude.
Yeah.
Or you on a different floors, but you get to the elevator, push the button, doors open. Who's there? That dude. And then you got to ride down together. I've been in elevators before where we don't even look at each other. We don't talk to each other. You go, and when you get out, he go left, you go right. But that's
Mm.
all through, and that festers all through the season. And
Okay.
people will say, well, we shook and made up. Oh, y'all just, y'all said we good.
Like
We
when you
ain't good.
kids and say, all right, say you sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
You ain't really sorry.
Still want to whoop each other behind.
Yeah.
Still want to whoop each other behind. That's exactly what Poole. They had to get rid of him. You could tell even his play on the court. He was taking bad shots, turnovers. It was he was
He think he Curry, not Kobe. He think he
I
Curry.
don't think he Curry.
All
So yeah, they
right,
couldn't wait to get
interesting.
rid of him.
Indeed. So that is Easy Sports Talk Show. We do this thing 3 times a week during the week. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and our Saturday show, we'll have an announcement on that coming in the next week or so. But we'll be bringing that Saturday show back as well. But tell a friend and tell a friend. You can support us if you're in the link. You can if you're in Spotify, you can check the link and support us. And then also you can go to easysportstalk.com, easysportstalk.com as well. We'll get Easy to be writing some articles and everything because he is a wonderful writer. And so definitely want to share those words with you. But until next time, as we always say around this time, you can